Welcome to the InStory show. I'm Devorah Spilman, your host, and our theme this season is what does it mean to expand into a new story? And how do you stop hiding your spiritual gifts and dare to be seen for who you really are by saying yes to your soul and telling your story? So today I'm thrilled to welcome Delight Rogers. Hi, Delight.
Hi there.
So before we dive in, I'm going to just read a little bit about you and then we will get started. Delight Rogers is a mixed media collage artist and creative wellness guide based in Northern Ontario, Canada. Through her Creative Delight studio workshops, including Soulful Stories, Wings, and Healing Blooms, she helps people translate life experiences into layered intuitive art. A certified teacher and art therapy practitioner, Delight blends gentle guidance with practical techniques using paper, textiles, and found materials. Her work is shown in local galleries and online, where she champions creative reuse, emotional healing, and storytelling through collage. Oh, it does sound so good. All right. So just like I'm making everyone else do, tell us kind of your thoughts on what does it mean to expand into a new story?
Okay, well, I love that that's your topic, and I love that that's your question for me. I feel like it'll make more sense as I go back and tell you my backstory a bit later on. But right now, I'm definitely, I would say over the past 6 months, 8 months, I've been having that exact experience, expanding into a new story. And I guess it's my story. Um, when I first decided a few years ago to be a full-time artist and a full-time mixed media artist, that became the hat and the identity. This is what I was. And the other things I thought I had to shed, all the other things I've been and all the different things that I've done along my journey. And what I've discovered more recently is that all those things I've done, all the experiences, the different careers I've had, are all able to come into who I am as a mixed media artist. I have a background. I had a photography business for 10 years. My first degree's in archaeology. I worked as an educator, as an outdoor education guide, certified in art therapy, certified in forest bathing, just all these things along the way. And I realized that with the art I create and now the workshops I make and the workshops I teach both online and live, I can take all of that. So nature and art and teaching and my own personal experiences with healing. And the last 10 years that I taught, I actually taught at a mental health treatment center for youth. So it was 12 to 17-year-olds that were pulled out of their schools and their homes and actually lived there. And I was contracted to teach there. And so absolutely everything we did, no matter what subject it was, had its basis in healing, in focus on mental health. And I brought in art so much because art is such an amazing channel to healing. If you don't have the words and you don't necessarily have the mental understanding of how to heal, the art is just a beautiful pathway to get there, another way to get there. So anyway, long answer, but I realized that expanding, that I can take everything, I'm 53, I can take all of those things I've done along the way, and they don't have to be separate and disparate. They can all come together and allow me to expand in what I'm doing right now in my art practice and in my course creating.
This is just music to my ears. I'm so passionate about what I call integrating all of who you are, because I often have women in their 50s and older come to me to do their new thing. I'm like, well, don't leave behind all the other stuff you did. Because honestly, don't you find that when you put all of that together, that's what makes you so unique?
Yeah, every single one of us has all of that. And
Right.
that's exactly what matters, the whole story.
I agree. All right. Do you have like a more detailed point of kind of some turning point moments that have really allowed you to say yes to this higher calling?
I absolutely do. And I mean, it's a little bit sad, but at this point in life, you have that realization that life has its hard points.
Yes.
It has its low points, and they're all part of shaping who you are and can make you, the silver lining of them is that they can help you with that dramatic push into maybe coming into your whole self or your true self or your new self, whatever it happens to be.
Don't you think it
Um,
becomes your wisdom,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't get wise by it all going perfect.
No, no, absolutely not. So I guess it was about 4 years ago now. I have three children, three daughters, and my middle daughter, um, I lost her. She's alive, but I lost her to me when she was 16. She's 20 now, to drugs. And so
Mm,
she has a really serious addiction to crack cocaine and fentanyl. And
mm,
what happened in me trying to help her in the beginning, still have my full-time teaching career and trying to do everything possible to help her and bring her out of this, get her back to the point where I made myself sick, which is a story I now know. So many, especially women, have those kind of stories where they just make themselves ill trying to help other people. And so I ended up I went on a mental health leave from teaching, and that was over 3 years ago now. I haven't gone back. The first year, once I stopped teaching and everything slowed down, well, everything stopped. I wasn't driving, I wasn't going anywhere. My world really did sort of stop, full stop. But then from there, the rebuilding happened where I had always I'd done mixed media art for a long time at that point, and I pulled it back in as this, it was my lifeline. It was what I did. I did it every day. I went to bed thinking about it. I woke up thinking about it. I became consumed. I was worried it was unhealthy. I talked to my therapist. Is this unhealthy? She said, it's okay. So I did that. And then it got to the point where it evolved from there. It evolved from there to being brave enough to put my art out into galleries, to taking some steps towards getting a art business coach to learn how to create courses and put them out in the world. So over the last few years, that's been the journey. And so even though it came from a very sad place, and I carry that, I still, in my art, I still often start with journaling, and it's usually notes to my daughter or things that I'm feeling in missing her in my life. But um, I do get, having not completely lost her, I get to hang on to that hope that someday I might find her again and have her come back in my life. So I do have that. And so, yeah, that's the backstory. And at first, it was very much, I'm a mixed media artist. I'm creating this type of course, and this is what I do, and this is all I do. And then I've had this, like I talked about, the expansion piece. It's like, oh, I can bring in all these other beautiful things
yeah.
that I've collected along the way.
So, first of all, thank you for sharing that. It's such a hard topic, and so many people have addiction in their families that it's such a learning, and that whole concept of what I heard someone teach into it called love another way, loving another way. And I think as women, that's often the case. Is how do you love another way that allows you to still be whole? And
Hmm.
your courage to talk about it will allow other women to connect with you and to find their way to speak into just what happens when you have a child who you can't help. It's like
Yeah.
it's just not a thing that his mother's like, oh, are you kidding me? So
Hmm.
uh, to what I also love is all these different modalities that you just mentioned, how they come up. So maybe we can talk a little bit about some of those, like either the forest bathing or maybe even some stories of the healing that happened when you were like, what are some of the things that are coming together that are really kind of amazing to you as you're working with people? Like, how are you seeing yourself bringing these other modalities into what you do?
Sure. Yeah. Well, the background with forest bathing and outdoor education, outdoor experiential education teacher, and my own love of nature. I live in a tiny little village of 800 people with the woods beside me, the river in front of me. I immerse myself in nature, and that's just as healing for me as my art creating. And so what I've found whenever I would do blog posts or send out newsletters to my community that involved nature, I just would get just so many amazing responses from people, and people wanted more of that from me. And I realized that those were things that I was doing, but I wasn't really connecting them as much to my art, even though they really were truly connected. And so being able to offer more of that to people, okay, well, go out and do this, tap into your senses, or collect beautiful things on a walk in the forest and put them on your art table as you create, or collect things that you want to, you can dry your flowers, put them in your art, use your birch bark, like just take all those things in hands-on, connect the two, the art and nature, because they're both just such powerful healing sources.
100%. I had the same thing. I started sending out these things called a blessing from the trees, which are these like channeled message I got in the forest. I was like, oh, I don't know, should I send these out? But took my own medicine. If it moves me, it'll move my tribe. And of course, just like you said, we know we need this inspirational nature experience. So, what do you talk some more about the healing aspect of this work that you're doing, right? Because you've been an art therapist, you did all this work with these kids and how it healed them. Like, speaking to that a little bit more.
So for me, I've done yoga throughout my life, meditation, but I've always struggled with meditation. And what I discovered with collage art, especially because it's very tactile. I'm using my hands, I'm ripping the paper, I'm ripping fabric, I'm sticking things on, all the layers is it's a form of active meditation or active mindfulness. And so it has all these different parts of you engaged, and it's putting you into the present moment, and it's allowing a really hands-on outlet for emotions.
Hmm.
And we often will start with, like I said, journaling on the canvas or on the art journal page, and or putting down words that maybe aren't, that are negative words, but putting them out there, but then covering them, and covering them later on with positive journaling, and covering them with beautiful things, and allowing them to rest,
Hmm.
and allowing just the idea, the parallels between the layers of our life and layers of our healing, the layers of our journey, and these layers through art, because they often have just so many layers to them, the kind of art I create. And people are amazed when I teach classes, especially in person, and they see what's involved in it, because it's kind of intricate. And that's where my archaeology background comes in too, because it's very layered, and I'll often peel back layers and let parts of what's underneath show through. And it's just a great journey. And what we also do is we take things that are sentimental. Maybe it's old letters, maybe it's an old tie of your father's, a dress, a little dress that your daughter used to have, old books, whatever it happens to be, and take parts of those and put them right into the art. So then they truly are a story. And that's the course that I've included the free sample of it, the creative taster of Soulful Stories, to share with your community. And that's truly what it is about, is actually taking physical things that you have and putting them into your art and sharing them as your story that way.
So since you said you were a photographer, do you want to talk about like I bet photos are a bit like can have a significant role in this.
Yeah, well, and interestingly, so I was a photographer in the entertainment industry in Toronto, and it was mostly portrait photographers, so models, actresses, entertainers, musicians, whoever it happened to be. And so it was really about capturing a person's essence, a person's energy, in like, they weren't beauty shots. It was about really getting who they were all about so that they could use these as promotional photos. And a lot of my art has faces in it, and I see that too, because I'm trying, they tend to be invented portraits that I create in my art, but it's about that, it's about capturing an energy or capturing a certain element in a person and putting it out that way.
The reason I'm asking this is because I think that all you're such a good example of how you've taken all these like very specific careers, like and you have such a range, like in archaeology and photography of stars. But I feel like what you're getting at is this some kind of essence, because even like uncovering the outer to get to the inner, that is just exciting to me and feels like if someone lands in your world, it's going to surprise them. So
Yeah.
you could talk about a few more examples of things and how it works or stories or whatever.
Um, well, I think what what I find for with the work I do with people is that it just it uncovers it. So mixed media collage art is not, it, for the most part, it's not intimidating to people. There really aren't mistakes. There aren't right ways to do things. You can use absolutely any materials you want. And if something doesn't work out, you cover it, you rip it off, you just do whatever. And so there's a freedom to it. So a lot of people come into it with their own preconceived ideas about art and their own preconceived ideas about their own creativity or lack of creativity. And so it really is empowering, is what I see, is that going through the process with me, people will just kind of light up because they realize that this is something they can do. This is something, and a lot of what we use is because it's creative reuse, we're different materials around that are around us in our homes. So you're rethinking everything you have in new ways. And it opens it up as a creative outlet, which is a healing outlet. And it opens it up as a way to memorialize people or things in your art. And it just opens up so many different channels for people that they haven't necessarily realized that they were right there and fairly accessible.
Yeah, I can feel that. I'm curious, just because I was teacher for many years, if there's some experiences or stories when you were teaching and using this with children who were the children who couldn't manage the regular world. I would
Mhm.
love to hear, because there may be other parents, watching or grandparents watching, and we see that. We see the shoving of children into systems that don't really work.
Mhm.
I would love to hear a little bit.
Yeah, I would say, and it's true to art for everyone, but it was really poignant experience that I saw a lot of students go through with the idea of perseverance or grit. Because with art, and for anyone who creates art, and whether it's writing or music or whatever it is, there's those points where you kind of want to give up. You're at a hard part. It was fun in the beginning, and then you're at the point where it needs to be refined or fine-tuned, and you just don't know you don't like it. And some people call it the ugly phase or the teenager phase, which I don't like. But and I would see that over and over with students where they would just be enjoying the process to a point where it got hard. And encouraging them, supporting them, demonstrating to them how pushing through that hard part is so rewarding. And so many of them, when they got to that point, they got to the other side of that difficult point, and they had this art or something they'd created that they really felt proud of. And it was really good because they had gone through that difficult phase and done that work. And the beautiful thing about that is they were able to carry that knowledge and understanding into the other subjects I was teaching. Say,
Mhm.
okay, you're writing an essay, it's feeling like a mess, you want to give up. What if you push through? And remember what you did here, and what if you do that same thing now? And so that's really, to me, that's really beautiful. And I think we all need that realization, okay, this is where I have to do the work. And I have to be persistent and I have to push through. And there are all these rewards when I get to the other side.
Yeah, but that's so true. And what a non-threatening way to practice by doing this kind of collage art, because it's not like you have to make sure it looks like perspective and looks exactly like the thing. Like what's hard is more internal in a certain way,
You're
right?
right.
So there's more possibility of guaranteed success, so to speak, because it's not so finely tuned skill based like playing an instrument or drawing something that has to look exact. And so I feel like you gave them a tool that was going to be able to be succeeded at no matter what, as long as they didn't quit. And then they had
Mhm.
that feeling. Like, did you see some of them really make that association?
Absolutely. I mean, they were, teenagers. I don't know with younger children if it would be the same or not, but they definitely had. There was a growth and a learning experience that they had when they
Yeah.
experienced that feeling, and they had the physical product, the outcome too.
Right, 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 right. And there's that cute children's book called The Dot. All
Yeah,
right.
I love that one. I have it right here on my shelf.
I'm sure, but that for anyone who doesn't know it, it's like this girl says I can't do art and I can only make a dot. Well, you can tell then they put her work up. Like,
Yeah.
did you guys put up their work for people to see it? And
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were in a pretty secluded and high secure area where not too many people came in other than the people that lived and worked there, but they were all over the walls. Yeah, we had a little two-room schoolhouse, so not a big space, but art was definitely there and on display.
right, because I think this is a big part that translates out for a lot of the work I do with people, which is this being seen.
Hmm.
Right? Like
Hmm.
people are afraid to show for me, it's like they're afraid to tell their story. They're afraid to show their art. So when we showcase it in some way, like I do a storytelling recital, you put people's work up on the wall, like then they're not only have they broken through the hard point and completed a thing, but now they're having to show it to somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a story about that. So I've been making mixed media art for over 15 years now, and it was only in the last few years that I put my art out there, and I was prolific. I was making all this art, and people would come over and people would say, "Oh, this is great. Like you should show it somewhere, this and that." And whatever painting they were kind of drawn to, I would send it home with them because I had so many, and because um, I was afraid to put a value on it. And I also knew these people, so they were like my children, these paintings, so I knew where they were going to be if I needed to visit them. And so that was that thing of saying, okay, it has a value to put it out there into the world. And it takes a lot of bravery, but it's also another rewarding step because then you're getting that, the feedback from people and not just friends and family that are appreciating it and seeing
So
the stories in it.
did you make it over sort of to that next step of putting them in a gallery where a stranger could buy them for money?
Yeah, I have for a few years now, and my paintings sell really well.
But
The
talk
very
about
first,
that because I think that's very hard with our art, with our gifts, to say that this thing that comes from my heart and soul that I created, how can I charge money for it? Because, well, I wasn't trained like a lawyer or a doctor. There's this weird. So I would
yeah,
love for you to talk. How did you walk yourself through being able to put them not just give your babies to a friend, so to speak,
yeah,
but to say this is a valuable piece of art worth money that can go in a gallery and a person I don't know can buy it. Like that's a big
yeah. It's
change.
it's big, and I think I made one tentative little step that I was fortunate turned into a much bigger opportunity. So I had entered a few pieces into a local art show in a town nearby, and someone saw them there who was a gallery owner in another town and reached out to me. And I think something spoke to her about my paintings, and she asked if I'd like to do a show at her gallery, which to
Wow.
me felt just huge and just impossible. And but I did it. And so I had a show with almost all my pieces that I loved in this show. I had the whole gallery, and there was a wine and cheese night to open it. And it was entirely women who came. My art's very feminine. And there were women who were moved to tears.
Wow.
There were women who connected to different paintings, women who felt like it was their story, or there was the symbolism in a painting was just a message to them. There was, I think, 12 pieces sold, and I mean from $1,000 and more down. So I mean it was quite incredible, and it had been so many years of me making art and holding it close. So that was yeah, it was very powerful. And
Yeah.
I know I was lucky to have that opportunity.
Right. But you had already started opening yourself to it, and that's part of it. And then that's what we do for the people then in our world is you nudge them to go a little faster than we did, right? Someone who comes and works with you, you're gonna nudge her to make that authentic work and eventually to someone who loves it to see that it moves from just healing to something that will benefit the next person.
Yeah, and they're healing and they're feeling connections with it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
really powerful to get to create something that moves other people like that.
It is. And, one of the things I talk about so much with the women who I focus on who are just doing the verbal part of this, not because I don't teach the visual arts part, but they're so afraid to share. And I say, if it moves you, it will move your tribe.
Hmm.
And that's a
Beautiful.
very
Yeah.
big shift, which is I hear you saying also, if you have the courage to put it out there, the people who are moved by it will be the ones who are moved by it, right?
Yeah. And it's okay that it's just those people. It's okay if there's people who don't get it. It's
Right.
okay if there's people who don't like it, because how weird would it be if we made something that absolutely everybody liked, right? So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. The problem that I think women have in the beginning of all of this, bringing it out in the world, is I like to call it they carry the wrong audience around in their head. Whoever
Mhm.
told you were terrible at art, or whoever told you, you don't, your story is stupid, or you're not really psychic, or whatever it is, as long
Mhm.
as you carry that audience in your head, you're never going to come out of hiding. So when someone lands in your world, you're showing them a whole new audience,
Yeah, absolutely. And
right?
that's part of your story, each person's story, to sort of face up those unrealistic ideas or false ideas we might have about what we're producing or what we're about or what our story is, and just, yeah.
Right. And
Having
so when somebody sees your art or hears your story and you see that they are really literally moved by it, it just starts to rewire that old negative art teacher that said that's not right, make it right.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say, I've taught kindergarten to grade 12, and I've taught art all through those grades. And I do have to say, I was one of the art teachers that was very free. If you want to do it this way, I love it. If you want to do it that way, as long as you're creating something and you're having fun, then this is a success. So there are art teachers out there that aren't soul crushing.
100%. And you hear adults say, I remember this one teacher,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
who just made me feel like I was a wondrous human. And so
yeah.
when we are that teacher, I was also a very creative teacher. You
Mhm.
just know you're there to just give them one little spark
Yeah,
of
exactly.
hope
Yeah,
in there. So, and then now we do that for each other.
we do. And I mean, how lucky to get to do that, right?
Yeah.
That's
It's
what I
what I
feel
love.
blessed about.
Yes. And I love this about summits because this is how we find each other. Right?
It's
There's
very
someone sitting
true.
there who's going, I just love mixed media art, but I'm too afraid to do it. And they're going to go into your world. So tell us a little bit about
Mhm.
the free gift so they can get a little bit of a taste of your world.
Yeah, so the free gift is it's a chance to explore one of my main courses, Soulful Stories. And it's a creative taster. It's got meditations in it. It's got different art exercises. It's got a mini background in just the technical parts of mixed media. If it's brand new to you, mixed media collage, so you know what you're doing. And then it gets you started into exploring the layers of your story and the layers of your collage layers, and exploring all the different materials that you can bring in to your art. So that's what that is. And I'll also include for you to share a little 5-minute video that shows me creating, and talks about the whole healing process that happens as you're creating and going through the process.
Okay, wonderful. I love that because I'm a good example of someone that's not my normal mode. But if I was to sit down and have someone give me ideas that I just don't know how to think of it myself because it's just not my area.
Hmm.
I think that's what we do for each other. Like I get artists who will come to me and they're like, I don't talk. There are some really strong visual artists who that there are stories in their art and they hit a point where they need to tell their story, but that's not their thing.
Right.
Right. And
Yeah.
so this sense that we can find these different modalities that are all about this idea that we started with of expanding into a new story, that you're not
Mhm.
stuck in the old constriction. So go get the free gift, start something. You can post in the Facebook group for the show if you start working on something and you want to be brave and show us what you started with, or even
Oh,
what
I'd love
materials you
that.
found. I think it would be really fun. Oh, because the summit goes for 2 weeks, so you'll have time to do something, to sing.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. I would love to see what people create. I mean, that's the most rewarding part.
And that's part of coming out of hiding. So that is
Yeah.
our encouragement to you. To just use the Facebook group. It's a private Facebook group for the show, and we'll all be in there to just encourage you. So we'll see. All right, leave us with just a couple last thoughts as we wrap up.
Okay. I think it would just be that remembering no matter where each of us are in our life or in our journey that we matter, that what we feel matters, what we make matters, um, that we're enough exactly how we are. I mean, I have to remind myself of that all the time too, and that we all need to know that and just trust in that.
I completely agree. It's an ongoing work. So, all right, everybody, grab the free gift, share with us what you got. And as I always say in farewell, remember to go out in the world, share your story, live your purpose, and be a blessing. Bye, folks.